Well, a very good evening, a good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are watching this from. My name is Tessie Carvin, and today I have the privilege of hosting Amadou Gallo Fall. He is the president of Basketball Africa League. Amadou, what a pleasure to meet you and to host you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Allow me to start with a personal question, if you may. So, looking back at when Mamadou, your brother, gave you a basketball, or thinking back on when you had to climb over a wall to get into a basketball court that was always closed, or looking back at your dreams of being part of the Doctors Without Borders, how did all these form who you are today?
Well, I hope that, all those, events or moments certainly have triggered or contributed, I'm pretty sure, with whatever it is that is manifesting today. But again, it all, started with opportunities, right? So to have the opportunity to engage in an activity. So whether it's from being given the basketball to also some of the things that you force a little bit, because I was by no means like a brave defiant rule breaker, but climbing a wall to go use a court, I thought it was just a simple thing. And I think probably also later on you think about it, you always wonder what's the purpose, right? What's the reason in Africa we had to, break down a lot of those barriers that, like we want to, we rather keep something, crystal and pristine that we haven't used yet. And then I'm talking about simple basketball court and that nobody's using, but we feel that by just keeping it locked, that's the only way to keep it like sustained.
Yeah.
Whereas we, all we have to do is, use things, but also maintain them, do what you need to do to make sure that it doesn't get completely destroyed. So anyway, obviously, the realization that maybe why I wanted to join Doctors Without Borders, obviously, sports and my participation in sports and basketball opened my eyes to the fact that it was more the idea of, service, that attracted me into wanting to pursue medicine. So sports, I just, I discovered through, just my direct experience that could be an incredible tool. So for learning, for engaging, and, just for using that convening power that sports has, that we talk about its transformative power. Certainly, it has transformed me in so many ways that I couldn't even dream about.
So the NILE conference happening here for the very first time, and this being the 5th edition, what is special about the 5th edition?
Well, what is special about the 5th, first of all, 5 years, that's a milestone, and, especially, building this league, launching, having that historic launch in the middle of the pandemic. Anytime you're doing something that's never been done before, you're grateful when, it just gets off the ground, and then showing sign that, we sustained progress over 5 years. So for me, it's like the team we're able to build, obviously this takes, an incredibly talented team. I'm the guy that people see, but the talent is really what is the talent we have, in our BAL, operations and across the NBA Africa family, is what is the engine behind all this. So in 5 years, we are definitely convinced that, with what we talk about, this league can become one of the absolute best professional basketball league in the world, that is going to showcase Africa, and that's going to be an economic growth engine for the continent, that is creating jobs, that is showcasing beautiful African cities and all the talent we see off the court. When you see music and design and all the creative industry coming alive around this league, that's something really special. But I want to keep reminding people that we are a professional basketball league, and our number one priority is going to remain making sure that we have an incredible product on the court, incredible competition, because that's what's going to continue to drive fans. Yes, they don't have to be fanatic in terms of people who live and breathe the game, but the product we are creating, fans from all ages, all backgrounds, people coming with their families and young kids and having a great experience. That's the product we're grateful to have the opportunity to continue to build, and 5 years has shown us many signs that are very encouraging.
Now, Africa has been known to export talent for the most part. Now, since the beginning of BAL, would you say the continent is now able to retain and nurture its talent?
That was always the goal. First of all, one of the things we're most proud of is to showcase talent that was already here, that nobody knew about. Yeah. I think that's one of the things I just came from, meeting the teams and welcoming them. It's always great to see so many of these familiar, faces, players who've played in the league coming back, whether they change teams or not, but they are still in the league. Young players who emerged, bursted on the scene. You have one here with APR in Aliou Jara, who 3 years ago, I believe, with Stade Malien from Mali, nobody's heard of, 21-year-old, played, showcased incredible talent, and he was with another young man on the same team, Berthe. Berthe ended up going at the end of that season to play, I think, for some third division in France. But Jara stayed, moved to Fils de Rabat, played, with another team in the BL last year. And now he's here playing for APR. For me, these are the stories, these local heroes that we are proud to, really showcase. Because for the African, child, whether they're here in Kigali or in Nairobi, that story is very realistic. If they have access to the game and they, learn the game, they play the game, they have a chance to be part of the local club, win their local championship, and play in the Basketball Africa League and be showcased all around the world. So, yes, we are proud to be able to unearth this talent, retain this talent, continue to develop this talent, and then attract top talent from around the world. And by the way, we have so much talent that some can go somewhere else, but we want them, if they're going, it's because they're going for better than what we're proposing. So ultimately, we will be much more competitive than we are today in terms of just pay across the scale with all the leagues around the world, but except probably the NBA, because I don't think we'll catch them in terms of just what salaries that players command there. But what define or determine those salaries is the attractivity of the league, like how competitive the games are, the quality of of the talent we have on the court, because that's what's going to be broadcasted around the world. That's what is going to attract partners, who want to come and invest alongside us. We can influence more world-class infrastructure being built all across the continent. But, this keeping the talent, developing the talent, growing the talent, and at the same time being open to having top talent coming from around the world is also one of the one of the manifestations, one of the opportunities we have with the league to make sure that we continue to cement.
And while we make boast of our African players, talk to me about Chomche and Maluak, who are both part of BAL, and now I think Chomche is grafted into the NBA.
Yes.
Maluak seems to be on his way to the NBA. What does that make you feel, and what does that speak about the caliber of talent that Africa has?
Yes, both of those players come from our Elevate program that we launched the NBA Academy Africa in 2017. With the intent to make sure that, young players from Africa don't have to feel like they have to go somewhere else in order to develop. I think we are very confident that if we create the enabling environment, the facilities, and get the coaches, the coaching we need, the sports science and everything that comes with recovery and the physio and all that, with the talent we have here, if we nurture that talent could get to the highest level. And that's what I think was proven with Ulrich Chomche, a young man from Cameroon who came to the academy at age 14, became the first player to be drafted straight out of Africa. Because generally, the other players that made it to the NBA, whether it's Joel Embiid or Pascal Siakam, that by the way, they all came from some of our grassroots activities that we ran at NBA Africa, mainly Basketball Without Borders, which is still in existence. Those players had to go to prep school in the US and then universities. I think before they got to the NBA, Joel Embiid went to University of Kansas and Pascal was at New Mexico State. But now that trend is reversed. Haman Malwash is another young player who matriculated at the NBA Academy, was part of our Elevate program. He played 3 seasons in the BAL, playing for Cobra Sport in the team from South Sudan, and then played for AS Douane. They were in the finals here, I think, two years ago, and then in the final year played for the City Oilers. Now he's at Duke. They were in the Final Four, and they lost in the semifinals. Another young player, Ruben Chinelu from Nigeria, who was actually in the same time as Haman and Ulrich, played also in the league for 2 seasons in the BAL. He won the NCAA championship this few weeks ago with the University of Florida. So, that talent is there. So I think the Academy has shown that, when you create the opportunity and bring the players and give them the same level of training with experts that we all train, with NBA standards. These are young coaches from Africa that, really help develop these players, and those guys are, Ruben is in the NBA. I think Haman is knocking at the door, and Ruben also, and there are others, many others. But we're also proud of those that are, that are here playing for each of the BAL team has a player from the Elevate program in its rank. So we're going to see some of them, and this is their chance to really, sometime explode on the scene. The player who scored the buzzer beater from Creole Star in the conference, in the Sahara conference, that now Creole Star from Cape Verde qualified for the finals and playoffs. That young man is at the NBA Academy, 17-year-old. That was his first outing, and I really, that he used the platform, and we're looking forward to, continuing to nurture young talent from across Africa throughout our, grassroots initiatives. So it all speaks to the continued work that we're doing beyond just the BAL, the NBA Academy, all the junior NBA leagues, all the coaching clinics, the referees clinics, and this is where, all the work that is designed to build a robust basketball ecosystem with teachers of the games, with professionals who want to get into broadcasting and marketing the sports and, being sports doctors. They all now have a platform, with this league to be employed to do what they love and do it around basketball.
I hear you. Amadou, they say if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you must, pull together. So who has BAL pulled together to help it go far? Who are the key partnerships for BAL?
Well, first of all, we partner with FIBA from the get-go because for us, it wasn't about coming to Africa and saying, hey, we're going to, start a closed league and just professional. We can bring owners from all around the world, bring players from all around the world. From the get-go, we wanted to make sure that what we're doing impacts Africa, impacts the growth of the game across Africa. And we start seeing the results, right? The last World Cup, Basketball World Cup, all the 5 teams that represented Africa, they did very well. They won games. A few of them advanced to the next round. We see what South Sudan has done, right? Really showing that it is possible with organization, with expertise, and all this being local to do big things. I think FIBA is obviously a number 1 partner. Then the world-class partners that we have that have started as to help us start. Obviously, we talk about the global partners, Nike, Brand Jordan, or Wilson, but equally for us, that's significant, the RDB and Visit Rwanda, because, really the partnership has allowed, all this to continue to grow, and that was one of our, priority. We could come in with the global brands that we talked about, but I think we start to really feel the real growth when we start to attract local partners. Obviously, RDB and Visit Rwanda was the foundational partners, but then this, going to Senegal, for example, and having some of the local brands there, like a Wave or, Woodside, and some of those companies coming on board for the first time. Same here, last year we had Bank of Kigali, and getting MTN Rwanda, and I know we're talking to some other local brands. So I talked about FIBA, Visit Rwanda certainly, and a host of those global brands. And I think some of the champions that along the way that really we were able to, at least to get to see up close and personal what we're doing, and we see that a shared vision for the future of Africa, to have an Africa that is confident, that is standing on its feet, and having a young population that is dynamic, that is ambitious, and that understand that we can make it here. We can make big, bold, very aspirational things here on the continent. So when we hosting President Kagame to our games, and him coming all the time with the First Lady, showing support, those things are priceless. So even him traveling to Senegal last year and having inviting obviously the President of Senegal to the games when we played at APR was playing AS Douane. So for me, those are moments that we would always point to, and I think the triggers this year when we open we play our Sahara conference in Senegal. The President Bassirou Diomaye Faye came the first day, and then later on throughout the week we had really a host of personalities, and including the Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko, the President of Parliament, and number of ministers. So I think really that leadership that we saw here, and President Kagame has been a partner, and really helping, just use sports and its convening power, and for us as a development tool that focuses on youth, that focuses on social impact, that focuses on community development.
Yeah. As we almost come to a close of our conversation, I understand that there are plans to make BAL a franchise. How far are you with these plans?
Look, I always say that we are always going to look at, all possibilities to make this league better every year. So every year we take stock and reflect at the end of every season to see, where did we, what did we do well, and what are the areas of opportunity. So in the same vein, we're not putting any limit to, where we can go. So obviously we'll make all necessary tweaks that are designed to put us in the best position to succeed and to achieve our very, very high ambitions.
Finally, my last question. I started with a personal one. I'm going to end with a personal one as well. You broke your wrist in your senior year and you stopped playing basketball and you had to re-strategize. Speak to somebody who is watching this, probably an athlete or a basketball player who has an injury that has caused them to, get off the court and they're having to re-strategize. What was that like for you, and what does it mean for such a player?
Yeah, for me, I think this is why it's important to be balanced, in terms of, yes, have the biggest of ambitions, but at the same time, be prepared for, any type of circumstances. And I think this is why we always, preach the narrative with young people, and just to think about the model of the student athlete. I think going to school doesn't interfere with you becoming an elite athlete, right? That's the model that we see work in the US. And most of our development initiatives across the continent, we've, based it on that. When we started SEED back in '98 and the Academy in 2002, that was really based on the model that we went through, going to school on a scholarship, playing basketball and studying, and have to maintain a certain grade point average. And knowing that it is possible, that's what we want to make sure that young people, follow. Go to school, play your sport, or, follow your passion in music, or, fashion or dance or whatever. But, school is an intangible that I think we have to make sure that young people have access to it. But at the same time, again, how do we make sure that, to say it very plainly, not to put all your eggs in one basket. But there are people who feel and trust their talent and their abilities, and just are single-minded, and there's nothing wrong with it if you can just, obviously live up to that, and also, understand that the whole risk-reward conundrum. So sometimes, I won't tell any young people not to, if they feel like, hey, this is it. And sometimes that single-minded mentality also works for some people. So, but for me, it's just to be balanced, be curious, learn different things, especially early on. And because as you grow, you will, start to see really where your skill set or your passion, will lead you. So that's it's really, for me, that's what it was. I wasn't obsessed with any one single thing. You know, I know that I wanted to do well for myself, and then had a sense of it has to be bigger than me. You know, so you know, and that's really those were my guiding principles. So this is why, obviously, yes, you know, when you feel like okay, the basketball career is over, but remember, I didn't go to the U.S. to play in the NBA. I went to the U.S. on basketball scholarship to study medicine and join Médecins Sans Frontières. But now, obviously, ultimately, discovering the whole idea of sports as a conduit for development is, you know, what, you know, hopefully saved the day.
Yeah. Amadou, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for what you're doing for the continent and for the young people in this continent. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. All the pleasure is mine.
Thank you, sir.